I thought this was just a project. But the moment I put this suit on, I realized how easy it is to lose your freedom.
Let me explain why we're doing this. We didn't wake up one day and decide to build something like this. This wasn't about curiosity, and it definitely wasn't about content.
It started with a feeling we couldn't shake, that we were still capable, but starting to take it for granted.
This channel is about longevity. It's about small investments you make today that compound into decades of healthy years later in life. But underneath all of that was a quieter question. How much of our ability are we assuming won't change?
And how much of it are we already protecting instead of using? Because when you're young or even just not old yet, aging feels abstract. It feels like something that happens later to someone else.
But the truth is, it doesn't start with years. It starts with habits, with what you stop doing, with what you explain away.
And that's when we realized something. Reading about those habits wasn't enough.
We needed to feel what those small choices add up to. We needed to compress 40 years of slow decline into a single day. To do that, we built this.
We call her Agnes. The concept was originally pioneered by MIT researchers to test product design, but we built our version for a different reason.
We didn't build it to test car seats. We built it to test me.
We're going to break down the exact engineering in a future video because the science behind this is fascinating. But for today, all you need to know is this.
There's a phase before anything feels wrong. It's when you're still capable, you're just choosing easier.
You're not injured. You're not sick. You're just adjusting.
You stop taking the stairs and depend more on the elevator. You park a little closer. You avoid things that feel unnecessary. And none of this feels like decline.
It feels smart.
Here's the part nobody explains. Every adjustment trades something. You get comfort today, but less ability later.
And the trade feels fair because the cost doesn't show up right away.
You don't lose ability all at once. You lose it quietly. And because it's quiet, it doesn't feel urgent.
It feels optional.
There's a moment you don't notice when it happens. The moment something you expect to be able to do quietly stops being automatic.
You don't fail at it, you just hesitate.
And that hesitation becomes a signal. You start planning around your body instead of trusting it.
And once that hesitation starts, it compounds. Silence becomes stiffness, stiffness becomes inability, and suddenly, you aren't choosing to stop. The choice is made for you.
And here's the part that made us uncomfortable. Nothing tells you when it's time to act. There's no alarm, no deadline, just a long stretch of later.
And later always feels reasonable until it isn't available anymore. Because what waiting really does is pack decades of slow decline into a future you don't get to negotiate.
I thought this would feel dramatic. It didn't. It just feels heavy, slow, and somehow invisible.
You could explain every one of these feelings away. You're tired, long week, but that's the trap.
I thought this was just a project. But the moment I put this suit on, I realized how easy it is to lose your freedom. Here's what I didn't expect. I thought aging would feel like losing strength, but the reality is, it feels like I'm losing margin.
And margin is what lets life stay spontaneous. When you lose that, everything costs more.
This is the first step in a longer experiment. Not to scare ourselves, but to understand what aging actually takes away and what it doesn't.
Over the next few videos, we're going to break this down. What matters, what doesn't, and what you can design against earlier than you think.
If this made you think differently about your body, there are more conversations like this here.
And more coming as this project unfolds.
If you want to follow this experiment, stay close.